Hello, I'm Tommy Moore from the Bartitsu Lab, and in this video I wanted to go through 6 of my favourite things that I take from boxing, from normal Western boxing, and apply to self-defence or self-protection. There are many, many more. I'm a huge fan of boxing, not only the end delivery mechanism, putting fists into targets, but for the attribute development, for the sparring, for the roughhousing, for all the great stuff that comes with it. So even if you're a combatives instructor or a combatives aficionado, you can't go too far wrong spending some decent time in the ring. Anyway, top 6. First of which is the shoulder roll. Now, there are many reasons why I like the shoulder roll, and I'll give you for why. Most of the times that we get attacked by others, our minds, our eyes, and our hands are otherwise occupied doing something else. So, for example, if you were a criminal and you were watching me, if you were profiling me and deciding when to attack, would you attack me when my hands are out already? Or would you attack me when I'm at the bar holding 2 pints? Or I'm pushing a shopping trolley? When I'm pushing a child's pram? When I'm putting the key into my house? When I'm opening the car? Lots of things we do in daily life require our full or mostly full attention. Shopping trolleys, prams, all types of keys, being on our phone. A lot of things require both hands to do. If you're opening the door, you still typically put one hand against the door, you lean in and do this. 2 hands are occupied. It's a perfect time for an absolute cunt face to attack you. So, let's say cunt face does attack you. Your hands are somewhat occupied for that millisecond, carrying shopping bags on the way home, whatever the fuck. Getting very, very quick on your shoulder roll allows your throat and your neck to be safe, which is a very important area, especially for bladed articles. And it makes it very, very, very hard to shake the jaw. Shaking the jaw leads to knockouts. You being unconscious leads to them being able to do whatever the fuck they like to. So if you imagine you're carrying your heavy shopping bags, you're pushing your pram, the assault is on. It's an assault. People have noticed that you're otherwise mentally occupied. Now for my hand to get to here, that's 1 order of speed. Yeah? So for my hands to get into some degree of cover is 1 order of speed. And if you imagine if my hand is occupied now, holding pint glasses, pram, shopping trolley, bags, I have to release, I have to move through. These are all milliseconds that you might not have to spare. But the ability to take something on the shoulder, to roll with that, will A, very often redirect a lot of the force. So either shoulder, by turning your body, the force that would have gone into your jaw is now being redirected. Yeah? Shaking the brain is much harder to happen. Stabbing the throat is much harder to happen. Hell, grabbing someone in a rear naked choke is a lot harder to happen because there's one portion of your neck which is very, very, very well covered. So if in doubt, soon as you feel or sense that lurch, your shoulder getting to here is going to be a hell of a lot faster than this getting to here. Now you may decide to use this as a precursor to this, which would be a very sensible thing to do. But in extremis, getting the shoulder as high up as possible and moving or shifting that body weight has many, many, many self-defense benefits, thinking about you being attacked whilst your hands are doing something. So it's a very, very useful tool. Another added benefit, as well as it making it much harder for people to knock you out or stab you in the throat, is that soon as I shoulder roll, no matter what direction I'm in, the opposite hand, or the opposite part of the body, is now loaded. You've essentially loaded the kinetic energy shotgun. Boom! I've now got so much potential energy because of this wind. Bang! Whatever you fire back is going to be an absolute monster. Boom, 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 boom. So it's a very, very useful, intuitive, fast, and kind of retainable tool for self-defense against punches, grabs, and stabs. Just being able to shoulder roll, to take something out the air. And again, like I say, the purpose of this is that very often your hands will be occupied doing other stuff when people come in for that initial assault. So it's a very quick way, boom, to have defence against many items, bang, and be wound up to fire a really solid, powerful, tide-turning counter-attack. Number 2, the lead hook. Now, I'm a southpaw, so I'll do this from southpaw. Doesn't really matter. You've got to get used to both sides being a lead, because in reality, in general life, we are walking humans. Our lead changes all the time. When we converse, our leads change all the time. So again, abandon really the notion of what is a singular lead. Both sides will lead and both sides will be a rear at different times and in different environments. But either way, the lead hook. So the hand which is appropriate to the leg, which is the furthest forward. Okay. Reason why I like a lead hook for a self-defense tool is A, the target for the hook is exponentially bigger than the target for a straight. So if I'm hitting the side of your jaw, I've swapped 1 inch for 4 to 5 inches. Pushing the head left or right is one of the best ways to shake the brain. It's by no coincidence that most knockouts in boxing will come from something that comes round. And then that round is conceptual, because uppercuts are round, hooks are round, overhands are round. Things that come in these arcs turn the head very, very often. It's also one of the shots that comes outside of the field of vision. So if you're here and you're having your argument, you've tried to dissuade, you've tried to calm down, you've tried to do all that stuff, the hand being outside of this immediate cone, boom, means that I can fire in a shot that he won't detect very well. So it comes outside of his tunnel vision, it hits him on a bigger target than the front of the jaw, and it's much more likely to shake the brain, ergo knocking him out. So it's a simple, simple tool. And it's quite an easy tool to deploy from open hands, whether you prefer the horizontal format or the vertical format, especially at close range. Doesn't really fucking matter, really does not. As long as you feel comfortable and you can land it and you don't fuck your own hands up. But a great benefit of hitting this side of the face as opposed to the front of the face is there's no horrible teeth on the side for me to mangle my hand on. This side, even if he flinches a little bit and I punch him in the neck, grand. If I punch him a bit high and it's on the cheek, I'll bust his teeth in, I'll still turn his head and shake his brain, but I won't mash my knuckles on teeth because there's this big fucking leathery face in the way. If you hit God's natural opening over here, there's a good chance you might fuck it up. So, hooks to the side, outside of the field of vision, easily shakes the brain, bigger target, and often a much safer target. So again, lead hooks, number 2, very good tool for boxing for self-defense. Thirdly, the chopping overhand. So in this instance, we might be in a shitty wrestle. We might be wrestling, pulling, pushing, gnarly, it's all this kind of horrible shit here. And if I can get myself a bit of space, a shot to generate short range power is a looping overhand. So I throw it over the top. So again, from a fucked up grapple here, we're moving off and get the space. It might be hard for me to pull off a hook here, might be hard for me to pull off any degree of powerful straight, but with this arcing motion of the shoulder, I can fire with a lot of power, and importantly a lot of mass, because it's coming over like a wave. Bam! So you end up in this horrible gnarly grapple, you're pushing, pulling, fighting, gouging. You want to do something a bit more final. You can get yourself with just a small amount of space, firing in over the top, that overhand shot, boom! And again, humans aren't really used to being predated from above. So we're not great at clocking threats that come straight over the top. We're used to hunting for threats down here, scanning. Bam! So if I can get this over, especially if I can get it where I'm just off centre, so I'm hitting the side of his jaw, bam! Throwing these short, elliptical overhands is a really good way to have short range power generation. So again, It's a simple thing to do. You can get yourself to be butting heads, grappling with the opponent. Get used to driving, then finishing the job. Boom. And remember that for this deal to work, your hips, your feet, your shoulders, your moving of mass needs to follow through. But short elliptical chopping overhands, I really like for boxing for self-defense because it allows me to hit with something concussive from short range that has a good chance of knocking him out or knocking him down. Number 4, straights to the solar plexus or to the liver. Now again, often we might be on the receiving end of something nasty to begin with. Our awareness might have failed, we might have just been caught completely by surprise. Boom! And often in that case our head starts to go down if we've been pushed, hit, had a bottle thrown at us, had a chair thrown at us, whatever. Humans tend to shrink down. And he will then be rushing on. And I might not have the time to crash or raise myself back up. So being able to, from a relatively squatted position, you know, I like to practice this from being off balance, so I'll have partner work where someone shoves you, boom, and you land from a position of a shove. Being able to use this grounded posture to fire, bam, straights to the solar plexus, boom, or straights to the liver. It's a really good way to stop a man rushing into your space. It buys you an extra second of a 2-foot distance. So if I've done this here, I've stopped this encroachment. God knows I might have put him down because solid shots to the liver or solar plexus are man stoppers. But regardless, I've bought myself that little extra time, boom, to fire something else on top. So I find myself off balance, punch, knocked down, somewhat concussed here. If I can fire this shot in, I buy myself a little extra second of this distance, which is great, bang, because it gives me the space and time I need to fire something fight-ending. So straight to the solar plexus, or straight to the liver. Really great ways, especially if you've started to get knocked down, or you're flinching, or you've been pushed or off balance. If you're a little bit low, firing that shot in gives me just the second I need, boom, to move into something else. So that's a very, very, very important tool. 5, uppercuts to the bollocks. Now again, like I mentioned, you find yourself, when you get into the vertical grapple, the smarter people will lower their body weight, they'll lower their centre of gravity. Now for me, if it comes to this crash and this maul, I like to lower the centre of gravity and check for weapons. It's important, it gives me peace of mind that there might not be a blade in this waistband access. But from here, if you've got a decent uppercut, and you can use your head position, you can use your head wrestling. You drive them up, firing that same uppercut that you've drilled time and time again against the head and body, just by changing the target a little and changing the context a little, is a very useful shot. So again, we're in this nasty mauling grapple. Maybe my preemptive shot didn't work. I lower my body weight, drop my base. I can check for weapons that are waistband access, use my head wrestling, and then I can fire the uppercuts. Straight into the bollocks. That will then soften him up for me to potentially provide a duck under, into chokes, into other stuff, or allow me the option to break away, to fuck off, or to fire back with heavier artillery. So important stuff here. Now finally, again, imagine that our initial preemptive strike or reactive strike hasn't worked. So our hook hasn't worked, our overhand hasn't worked, and we've ended up in the shitty, fucked up little grapple again. And we're wrestling, and here is dangerous because this is where everything turns feral. Everything from this point onwards turns into bites, gouges, hair pulling, nasty, painful, horrible shit. So you don't want to stay in this shit too long. So again, it's important to be based. It's very important to be based. Now again, You can apply your boxing for self-defense here, so you can use horizontal hooks, bam, and you can get used to firing into the kidney. So you're using the same discipline that you'd have, same hook discipline that you've got. Here we're in this fucked up tangle, here, clawing, gouging, biting, nasty, horrible, life-changing shit. You don't want to stay there too long. Base yourself because you don't want to fucking fall over. The ability to use your hips, use your shoulder, use your feet to generate power on a hook right into the kidneys is an absolute man-stopper. So there are many martial applications for Western boxing. But to break down just 6 for you, the shoulder roll while your hands are otherwise occupied. And this will often be the case if you're being assaulted. Your lead hook on a larger, safer, more final target. You're chopping overhand to deliver maximum force from confined spaces or against a superior heighted opponent, so a taller opponent, boom, you can land these in very, very well. If you find yourself knocked off balance or otherwise discombobulated down here and you want to buy yourself the extra second, being able to, from a lower position, land a shot to the solar plexus or the liver with some authority allows you the time and space to come back with something very solid. If you find yourself in this vertical grapple here, this is where a knife might start to come out. So we check for the weapons on the waistband. As soon as we feel comfortable, from this position, we can still fire in solid uppercuts. We don't want to be slapping, fucking fannying around with here. It's a soft target, use a hard fucking weapon. Remembering to head wrestle the entire time. And finally, if there's no room to get lower down, don't get yourself into that mauling, biting, gouging game. You can find yourself on the wrong side of it. So if you can, use your head to prevent much of that action happening. Use your head wrestling and really cause some crippling pain and damage with these hooks to the kidneys. Just some simple ways to use the sweet or noble science for self-defense. Enjoy.